Finally, Mother Nature cooperated, and we got nearly 6 hours of practice today for this month's Indy 500. I'm Nathan Brown, your motorsports insider with the Indianapolis Star, here for this evening's edition of Pit Pass Live. Here on Thursday, after an 8-hour session of Indy 500 practice, of which we got about 6 hours of green flag running. Skies were clear, blue, sun was out, very little rain. We did have a little bit of delay here and there, but compared to what we got Tuesday and Wednesday, I think all of the 11 teams here will certainly take it. At the top of your timing charts here today, after a heck of a lot of running, again, more running than we saw from the 2 days of open testing in April and the first 2 days that we were scheduled to have practice. Pato Award is your fastest driver and car out there in the number 5 Aero McLaren Chevy, 228.861 miles an hour, followed by Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske, 227.316. Alex Palou was third, 226.915. Colton Herta, fourth for Andretti Global, 226.828, and rounding out the top 5, your defending Indy 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden, at 226.684 miles an hour. A quick look at the top of the no-tow charts. Of note, we saw a lot more qualifying simulation running today, with the uncertainty of how much open green flag running we'll get tomorrow. Still some weather concerns, particularly in the morning, from looking at the radar and the forecast, thinking that we should be able to get on track at some point. Whether we'll get the full 6 hours, we will have to wait and see. But there was, especially in the morning and a little bit in the afternoon as well, some drivers and teams going out, whether it's doing 1-lap, 4-lap qualifying simulations. Colton Herta topped the no-tow lap charts at 224.182 miles an hour. Second fastest, his Andretti Global teammate Kyle Kirkwood, 223.387. And rounding out the top 3, four-time winner Elio Castro-Neves at 222.852 miles an hour. As I said, roughly 6 hours of action today, and we saw lots of different kinds of action, including, unfortunately, 2 crashes for 2 of the bigger teams here this month. The first of those being rookie Linus Lundqvist, who got a little high and I think a little loose going through the middle of turn 2. Got loose, lost the rears, slammed into the turn 2 exit outer wall with the right side of his number 8 American Legion Honda. He was okay, but certainly shaken, frustrated in himself and the work that he was giving the Chip Ganassi racing crew to have to thrash throughout the day and this evening to get that car ready and get it back on track for Fast Friday and the boost that we will get tomorrow whenever we do get out on track. The second of those crashes came a couple hours later today. Marcus Ericsson, your 2022 Indy 500 winner, got just a hair low going through the start of turn 4, got loose, did a 180 spin and was actually pointing the opposite way, slammed into the outer safer barrier at roughly the exit of turn 4. The left side of his car sent careening down to the bottom of the track, hit the inside wall, and then actually also made contact with the pit lane attenuator, luckily at fairly slow speeds, all things considered, before his car came to a stop. Team official did confirm to me within an hour or so of Marcus's accident that they will go to a backup car for running moving forward. So that team, I'm sure back in the garages behind me, is thrashing to get that car ready. I don't know exactly how much of a backup car they already had ready and put together. Obviously, we'll have plenty of time to be able to do that, but it will likely be a late night in the Andretti Global garages. Marcus was very frustrated, felt like even in the little bit of running that we'd done through these first 3 days, was making some progress with his new team. Felt like, particularly in race trim, he had a very good car underneath him, and now all the progress that they made over little bits and pieces of Tuesday and Wednesday, and then of course today is all for naught. They can obviously take that setup information, but what you're getting with that setup information on a brand new car that might perform a little bit different aerodynamically, have different parts and pieces on it, is just going to be very different. And more than likely, as we've seen in the past, maybe not quite the highest performing car compared to that primary number 28 Honda that he was driving originally. We were, of course, down at the Care Center to talk to those two drivers after they came out. Again, both cleared and released. Here are our quick chats with Linus Lundqvist and Marcus Ericsson about what they felt in their moments of their crashes on track today.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a bit of a pack of cars, and I don't know if I did the slightest of touch on the marking there on the inside, and that was enough to send the car around. I need to look at it a bit more, but yeah, the car sort of snapped on me in the middle there of the corner, and when that happens, you're sort of a passenger in this place, so yeah, very unfortunate. I think we're probably going to have to go to a backup car. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I need to look at it. But we hit like 3 decent hits, so that's what I'm guessing. So it's going to set us back quite a bit. I think we made some good progress today, so that makes it even more disappointing. And you know, obviously the guys are going to have a lot of work to rebuild the car or build a new car. So yeah, that's tough. I mean, it does disrupt the car. I think today obviously it was enough to just flip it around. So. It's small margins on this place, we know that, so it's I was a bit too close to those margins today.
I mean, I got down a little bit early into 2 and I touched the curb and had a moment that kind of spat me out and into the outside wall. You know, it sucks, it hurts, especially at this part of the weekend. You know, it's second day of running early in the morning. You shouldn't be doing that, those kind of things. So, you know, I know exactly what I did, but it's not something that I didn't know beforehand, and that's kind of what's the worst thing about it. It's like, yeah, it's a lesson that I should have already known, but safe to say I won't be doing that again. Physically it's okay, just obviously pissed and kind of upset at myself. Like I said, it's not the part of the weekend where you should be doing these things, if there ever is a part where you should be doing these things, but I feel bad as well for the whole team, you know, for Chip and the whole of the A crew, because they spent a lot of time building this car together, so we kind of ruining it, like they said. Apologizing to my team, that's probably the first thing that came to mind, and then the second thing was basically trying to keep it out of any other wall, because obviously I had the first impact and then try to keep it out of any other wall, but yeah, it just happens so fast, so it's difficult to kind of cash once you have that moment.
Farther down the timing charts, as I'm sure everyone is asking, Kyle Larson, he finished 25th fastest today, did spend a lot of time actually as the 34th fastest of 34 cars, was able to get out this afternoon and got actually bumped up to that 25th spot right before Ericsson's crash. It was a frustrating day for that Aero McLaren crew on Kyle Larson's number 17. They also, of course, had Pato Award, who was the fastest. I think Alexander Rossi was pretty high up there on the speed charts, but a weird day for Larson. His crew spent the morning swapping out engines. He gets, I believe, actually 2 engines for the month as a one-off, which is not always the case. So he ran one engine over these first couple days, is running this engine now. Don't exactly know what their plan is. They might now run this one through qualifying and then have that other engine to put back on for Monday and carb day practice and the race. We'll just have to kind of wait and see and get a little bit more clarification on that. But they spent the first little chunk of practice today, which started a little earlier than planned at 10 a.m., swapping out that engine. By the time they were able to get that number 17 wheeled out toward pit lane, they were planning on doing some group running. And all of the group running that we had seen in the morning happened in that window that they were not out on track, that they were back in the garages. So Kyle gets out there, set up with the car to do some group running. Not really a group to run with. Everyone that was out there was interested in doing qualification simulations. So he runs a few laps. Frustratedly, the team takes the car back to the garages. They have to spend now a couple more hours swapping the car's setup back to qualifying sim. There's a lunch break in there. They eventually make it back out there, but at this point they've lost several hours. And if you're Kyle Larson and you see on the schedule, I've got 8 hours of practice today. You're not expecting to spend, less than 30 minutes running. He ran all of 29 laps. That fastest lap came at 222.805 miles an hour. So if you factor in roughly 40-second laps, Kyle Larson spent about 20 minutes of 8 hours that were available today running on track. He gave an interview to Peacock partway through the afternoon. Seemed somewhat calm, but starting to get on the edge of a little frustrated. Certainly don't think he's on the bubble or at risk of not qualifying for this race necessarily. He's got a couple great teammates with fast cars. They'll get him ready. But as he's trying to learn all of these new things and what the difference of a race trim car is between a qualifying sim car, knowing that we might not get a whole lot of running tomorrow, potentially weather permitting, I think there was just a little bit of a sense of maybe frustration in how the day went and how that could have maybe been avoided. But they'll go into tomorrow. We'll get the boost for the weekend to simulate those qualifying speeds. We'll definitely start to see speeds in the 230s. We'll have to see quite how fast we get again that unofficial lap record of Arie Luyendyk's well into the 239s that he ran back in 1996. The official one-lap record in the 237s, and his 4-lap qualifying record is just below 237 in the 236.9 range. Again, all of those ran in 1996. It's been 28 years since we've heard new track record at this racetrack. Coincidentally, I actually have a feature on that. Got a chance to talk to Arie Luyendyk about a week ago about that experience, about that 1996 race qualifying weekend, the weird ways in which he was actually able to set those records as high as they were, and why we haven't seen new qualifying records at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in nearly 3 decades. I encourage you, if you're interested to learn more or just kind of relive this again through Arie's eyes, to go take a look at that at indystar.com. Some other nuggets today. We had our final driver bullpen of practice week. We got a chance to talk to, among others, Andretti Global's 4 drivers, including Colton Herta and Marcus Ericsson. Now, if you watched the Sancio Grand Prix over the weekend, or if you saw social media clips, you know that Colton was a little frustrated with Marcus. Those two got into it on lap 1. Marcus didn't see Colton coming around the outside in turn 4. He had to brake because the group in front of him was slowing. He moved just a little bit to the outside. Him and Colton come together. Colton sent off into the sand runoff trap. And though he started 24th, was able to get back up to 7th by that checkered flag, but Colton felt like they definitely had a top 5 car in them, and maybe even potentially a podium, which would have been really remarkable. Colton had some choice words for Marcus after the race, saying things like, "My teammate needs to know that I'm in the points lead, and you can't race me like that." Called him some words that we won't use here on Pit Pass Live, but to get to what I'm saying too long story short, these two are fine. They talked a little bit on Saturday. Colton was still, I think, fairly frustrated. He gave himself a day. They came together and talked again probably on Monday. At that point, they're fine. There's no reason to think that there are any elevated tension levels with Andretti Global going into this weekend and the rest of this month. That's all we have today for Thursday evening's edition of Pit Pass Live. Yes, continuing to pump out lots of stories on indystar.com. Encourage you to go and check those out. I was here last night until 2:30 in the morning. Might have a fairly late night ahead of me again tonight. I just finished up talking to Tony Kanaan to get an insight on Kyle Larson's day and the folks on the number 17 Chevy. Just to kind of get a perspective on Kyle's frustrations and where Tony actually feels like the team is. An interesting story. Encourage you to look out for that either this evening or tomorrow morning. Have lots more stories tomorrow throughout the weekend, covering and following everything that goes on in qualifying between the run for pole and who will be the lone car that gets bumped and how this 33 car field shakes out. There you have it. Thanks again for watching this edition of Pit Pass Live. I'm Indy Stars Motorsports Insider Nathan Brown.